Hey everyone, what's up? It's me, Joel D. In this video, we're going to talk about how to update your web pages with Elementor. So now that we've installed Elementor, we installed our starter templates, and then we implemented our starter template for the first time. Now we're going to use Elementor, the site builder, to kind of get into those pages that we got kickstarted with our starter template, and we're going to be able to update them exactly how we want. So that's the purpose of this video presentation. It's how to learn how Elementor can work for you and how we can customize our web pages and our entire website exactly the way we want it, quickly and efficiently. And again, we're not going to have our finalized content yet, so we're not going to have final imagery or final copy yet, but I want you to know how Elementor works, so when we do start finalizing our content, we can just run with it and go get into our pages, update them accordingly, and make any tweaks or adjustments that we need to. Jumping over to my web browser, you can see I'm logged in here to my WordPress dashboard. Hopefully you're getting used to this login process where you're going to your domain /wp-admin and using your credentials to log in. So that's what I did. I'm here. I want to go down to pages now. And you'll be able to see quickly that the pages that we imported with our template are now here. So we have an About Us page, a Contact Us page, a Home page, and a Services page. And looking at the home page, you'll see that this now says front page in front of it, because when they imported over these pages, like we saw in our last video, in the customizer, they then set this page as the front page or our home page. So it changed over from that ugly looking page to that nice new home page. And that's why you'll see front page here. And you'll also see Elementor next to all of the pages that got imported, because that's what we're using to edit these pages. And those starter templates need a site builder to operate. So that's why you see Elementor here. Where you won't see Elementor is for the pages that were pre-existing. So the About Me page, this sample page, I believe those were the only two pages, and the privacy policy page were the only three pages that existed before. And you'll see they don't say Elementor yet because we haven't gone in and edited these, and we may not even keep them. To be honest, we'll probably just delete them eventually, because About Me turned into About Us, and we don't need that page. The sample page was just to show you what a page looked like, and we'll probably keep the privacy policy page and update this accordingly. And when we do, we can use Elementor actually to update this, and then you'll see an Elementor signifier here just like the others. Now I wanted to talk about each of the items underneath the pages. So if I were to click edit, it's going to bring me out to this page, which is the generic editor. And it's just the WordPress editor, and I can make updates here. This is where we used to build with blocks. You could build your page out here, but with Elementor it just makes it so much easier. We're not going to do that. Then you'll have some of these side settings here. We'll get into that more later, but you can set your featured image. You can still do that here, and that probably wouldn't be a bad idea, but again, that's what that button is. Now when I go back, the next one is a quick editor. So if I were to use the quick editor, it's just gonna open up this little box here where I can update the title of the page, the slug, and what the slug is what comes after the backslash here. So WP-admin is a slug. If we wanted to change that, and this would be About-us as the slug for the About Us page, we could change that to anything we wanted it to be. Next, I'm going to cancel out of that. The next thing is trash. If I want to delete the page, like I said, we may delete these. I'll just click on trash and it'll bring it up to your trash. It won't permanently delete it at first. You actually have to delete it one more time if you were to do that. So if I click trash for About Me, you'll see that there it will be added up here into a new trash field, so I could always recoup that later. It makes you delete it twice essentially, to make sure that you really want to delete it. Next, you're going to see view. If I click that, it's just going to bring me out to the page itself. I'll right click that, click open a new link. And I always do that, you'll notice, just because sometimes it will do it for you, but other times it'll actually open it within this website or browser, and I don't like clicking the back button. I'd prefer just going out and then coming back as needed. But now you can see what this page looks like when I go out to it. And again, we're going to be able to make any updates that we need to this with Elementor. All right, next thing, EA duplicator. This one is really cool, especially because I'll create some templates sometimes for static pages and also for blog posts, and it'll be in a particular format that I like. And instead of recreating that, I can set it as a template, not publish it, and then I can use the EA duplicator, and that basically is just going to duplicate that page, and I can update just the content within it. So it makes things a lot easier for me. And you needed the EA, the essential add-ons plugin for that to work. So that's why we've done that. That's part of the reason. And then finally, you'll have edit with Elementor, and this is just going to bring you to the Elementor page to edit, and that's what we're going to do next. And for informational purposes, you're never going to really click on Elementor to edit a page or click on essential add-ons to, use the add-ons. This is just mostly for settings and setting up like the back end of these tools. It has nothing really to do with the actual functionality of them, meaning if I want to edit a page, I'm never going to come here and then find a page. I'm going to go find the page, and then there'll be the option to edit with Elementor. Now I'll head down to the home page because that's the first thing I'm going to want to show you how to edit, and I will click on edit with Elementor. And now that this is loaded, you'll see I have a completely new way of editing my pages. On the left hand side, you're going to see the Elementor widget, where I can come down and look at some of these elements that I can add to my web page, like a heading, an image, text, a video, CTA or call to action button, dividers. I can scroll down. There's a ton of things that we'll learn about as we go on. Also, there's global settings, which is a pro feature. We don't have Elementor Pro, but if you did, you would have additional options here. I'm going to stick with the regular elements, and if I scroll down, you'll see again the pro options. If you see a lock next to it, these are locked unless you have the pro version. But if you scroll down even further, you'll see there's some additional options. So if I wanted to add an image box, star ratings, progress bars, a counter, there's a ton of stuff that's going to help you out. And also the essential add-ons gives us these additional things that we can use. So we'll look into this as we go on, but this is what the left-hand panel is for until I actually click on one of these items. So right here is just a text field. So someone can click the text editor here and it would create something similar to that. I'm going to do a Control Z. Another cool option with this is, like I mentioned before, I thought the customizer may have done this, but it didn't. I can click somewhere that's not within there and Control Z, and it'll get rid of the stuff that I just did. So that's a cool function. Now for anything else, if I click on whatever box that I click on, depending on what type of piece of content it is, so this is an image, for instance, the left hand side is going to give me options to adjust this image. If I click on text, this side is going to give me the option to adjust this text, which is right here. I can edit sometimes right within line, but it's always better, in my opinion, to edit everything on this side because this can kind of cause issues with HTML sometimes, I've noticed. So try to make the edits over here, but you can make some over here as well. Also, depending on where I'm at, you're still going to get one content, you're going to get styling for this area, and you're going to have an advanced feature no matter where you're at. So if I clicked on the title here, I still have the content, style, advanced. But obviously this has image implications, so I can center it, I can left align it, I'll keep it centered. I can add a link to the image. I can change the image by clicking on it. I can do a lot of things. And then if I went to style for this image, I could adjust the width of it, the height, the opacity, the border. I can add a border to it. I can do a lot of things in a stylistic way. Then for advanced, I can add margins, and then I can add a bunch of other options if I wanted, like background. I could position it differently, add custom CSS, etc. I can add padding and margins. So if I wanted, say, this to be lower, I would highlight this so it doesn't copy all the way through, and then say I just added 50, and it would add 50 padding to each of them. But if I unclick it, let's go back to 0. If I unclick this and go 50, it would just drop it down on the top and not add padding to the other side. So just ways to kind of manipulate the look and feel. I'm going to Control Z that back to 0. Another thing to take note of is the CTA buttons. If you remember, most of these don't have actual links in there. So when we're looking at the demo or the live view and we would click on that, it would just stay on the home page. But once we build out our sitemap and our actual pages, we'll be able to interlink everything together. So if I click on this CTA button, you can see now I have the CTA options, and right here where they just added the pound sign, meaning there is no link, I could interlink to a page, and I would do that by just beginning to type out a page name. So say I wanted this to go to the About Us page, I could type in About, and you'll see that little icon hovering over there, and I could just select this About Us page, and now this button would go to the About page. Now I'm going to show you how to actually build a section. So if you think of this from a holistic view, now each of these large blue highlights are sections, and then within each section you have these columns. So that they added a dual column here, and within the left hand column they have text fields that they're adding. There is no image here. This image is actually a background image of this section. So if I clicked on the section itself and went to style, I'd see that's where that background image lies. It's not actually in this column. I could actually add a different image in here if I wanted. Obviously, I'm not going to do that. But so this is the section. Within here is an intersection. So if I were to go to the elements, what you're seeing here is this intersection. So if I drag this over, I would have an additional intersection here. Let me just drop it in there, and you can see there's two columns, and all they're doing is basically adding text fields into the columns. So if I were to go back, and again, this little dotted sequence here is going to show you the elements, and if you click on something, it's going to automatically default you back to the edit fields. But if you ever want to go back, even if you're in a text field, you can click this and it'll send you right over to this. So what I could do is add a text editor field. So what they did was add in a text editor field, and that was essentially this field, and all they're doing is building it out that way. So again, this entire thing is the whole section. This side is the inner fields, which is right here, the intersection, and then this is text fields and whatever else you want to add. If I wanted to add a video, I could drag that over and put that in this column, and then I would have a video, and I could edit that. I could make it bigger or smaller. So that's kind of how that works. Also, if I wanted there to be 3 columns, I could add that just by duplicating one of the columns. So I could right click here, duplicate, and I'm going to have 3 columns now, and it duplicated the video column, so obviously that wouldn't work. But I just want you to see how the functionality kind of works from a high level perspective. I will Control Z and then I'll go back to normal, get rid of that video as well. And I'll get rid of this section, the intersection, by deleting it. So now we're back to square one, but that's all they're doing to build this out. And it gets easier and easier the more you do it. So I'm going to show you how to do it exactly from scratch. This one's a little clearer and easier to look at, so I'll do that here. Now, if I was going to say this section didn't exist, I'm going to show you exactly how they built this section out. All they did was you can come up to the edit section area and click the plus button, and this is showing you that it'll add a section. Or if you wanted to, you could do this from the bottom. Say you wanted to add something to the bottom. If there wasn't anything above the section or below the section that I wanted to add one to, I could always just come here and click on the plus and then add what kind of section that I want. So do I want a single column section, double column section, triple, quadruple, and so on. I'm going to stick to what we're doing up here. This section already exists. So what I can do now is right click on, or sorry, I'm going to add the plus button here to add a section. And then that same thing that I showed you at the bottom is going to pop up. I'll add a single section because that's what this is at first. And then what they did was add an intersection. So I will click on this elements button here and add an intersection to my new section. So now I have the section, I have the intersection, which is 2 columns. Then they have an image. So I'll go back to my elements. I will grab an image, and it's just going to be a placeholder image. And then they're adding some text fields. So I can come back to the elements, add a text field, or if I want to use something that already exists and I'm just going to change the words, but I want that same format and I don't want to have to worry about making those edits to the style, I can actually take this, copy it, come up, paste, and I can paste this right in there. And now all I have to do is edit the text. So I'll keep it as who we are just to show you what that looks like. And I'll do that for a bunch of these. Hold on. So then I just pasted that. And again, these are just text fields that are styled differently. Or actually this one I believe is a header. Let me just check. Yep, edit heading. So this is a heading. So if I were here, what I mean by that is I can add a heading directly to this area, which is the same, by default, the same type of text. I'll delete that. And now I have a regular text field. Copy that. Paste. Now I have a button here. So I can either, again, I could copy this if I wanted, or I can come down to grab the CTA button right here and drag it over. And I want to actually put it up here with my new one. And now it's the click here. If I wanted to say exactly no more, I would just click in this area anywhere, edit, and I would add an icon. It looks like they added this little right hand icon. So I'm gonna click that. I don't know what it's called. Let me just put in right arrow. There we go. I think it was this one. Insert. And I wanted it to be at the end though. So now it's saying icon positions before. I want that after. And then I'm gonna type no more in the text right here. And again, I can add a link. Say I still want it to be the About Us page. I'll add that link. Now I want to fill this image in with this dog image, which will already exist because, again, by default on the template, it exists. So I would click on the image section anywhere here, edit. Make sure you're not clicking on the column because this will actually edit the column. But you want to click on the blue little edit icon and that'll edit the image. So same thing up here. If you want to edit the section, you would click on or right click up here and it'll give you some options. If you wanted to edit the entire intersection, you'd click up here, and these are the inner columns within that intersection if you wanted to edit that. So if I wanted to make this background red for the whole column, I'd click on the column. But if I want to change any of the text here, I'm going to click on the blue icons. So I want to change this image, so I either click on the image or the edit sign, and now I'm going to click choose image or anywhere in there, and it's going to pull up my media. So if you remember, I showed you the media that existed from the dashboard. Well, this is what that's going to bring me to if I click media library. This will be the same thing. So if I added it to this here or within the dashboard, either way, this is where I would find these images. And I'm going to find the image that they used, which is this one. Here's where I could change alt text, and we're going to go through that when I talk about SEO, because adding alt text to your images can be helpful. So I would just say dog anxiety or 2 dogs with anxiety as an example. And then I would click insert media. And now I have this section built out. Now it looks a little different because they're adding padding. So what I could do is just see how much padding they're actually adding, and you would see that in the section advanced, and from the top they're adding 150 to the bottom they're adding 150. So all I would do is come on up here to this section instead, click on advanced, and make sure that this is unclicked. So right now it's clicked by default, but that means if I put in a number, all of them are it's gonna give me that that circular reference where everything's 10. So there's margins all around the image. I don't want that. They're just doing it tops and bottoms. So I'm gonna click this, say on the top 150, and you can see it drops it down. And then to the bottom, because there's not much padding here, I'll add 150 there. Now we just created that entire section the exact same way that they created this entire section, which is pretty great. There's a little different style here, like a shadowing that we could get rid of that they didn't have, but just for this example, we won't do that. But that's as simple as it is realistically. And the same thing with this heading section. All they did was add a section. Into the section they added a background, and it looks bigger just because they added more padding. So this one's 280 and 150. So there's more padding here, more padding here. They added text here, and instead of adding an image to the right hand column, they added a background image to the entire section. And just for the sake of the video, let's make some edits and save them because I want to show you exactly how to do that, and it'll just get us started with what we would do if we had our finalized content and copy. So let's say we have some of that content and copy, and we know we're going to change this tagline because we're not really providing care for our blog. Let's just say that we'll change it to something simple, again, just for a reference, and just say the information you needed to calm your dog's nerves or something. The info you need. This is pretty terrible, but we'll just keep this as the info needed to calm your dog's nerves. We'll just say that that's good for now. And we're going to move this out of here. So say I'm not going to have them call me because I just want to provide information, maybe reviews, offer products, offer services eventually, but not being my main driver with giving me a call. So I'll remove this section, which is an image box, it looks like, but they just didn't add an image. I'm going to delete that. So that goes up, but I want to add a CTA button here. And let's just say, actually, I want to add it to So you see how this just added it below the intersection. I actually want this to be part of the column, so I can center it or keep it left hand justified under this title. I'll give it a little padding. I'll go to advanced. I want there to be maybe 15. I didn't want it to do that. I'll keep it left hand justified, and then I'll say 20 and give myself a little room. Change the content to learn more. Which we could link out to our blog eventually, our blog homepage. And I'm not going to add a link yet, but I would add a link. Maybe look what it looks like if it was centered. I like it better on the left. And now we'll just keep this as is. So instead of saying that we're offering these services, we're just saying our homepage, this is the info needed to calm your dog's nerves, and then learn more. That's our CTA for now. Once I do that, I need to click update here, or none of these changes will happen. So if I were to try to X out of this, it will give me a warning like, hey, you need to change things, or you may miss some of your edits. But I'm going to go ahead and click update here, right near my shoulder. And while I'm over here, let me move myself for a second, or hide myself, I should say. Okay. Now you can see also I can look at a few different things, and I can make edits a few different ways. So my option here is I can preview changes. So if I click on that, it's going to bring me to this new updated page where it says, and this is my real site, and it's just giving me a preview, and it has the new information, new CTA. I can also see now when I click here, it would actually go to my About Us page instead of just going nowhere. So now it goes to About Us, and we're gonna eventually make some changes to that. So I'll go back to the home page. I have my new updates. That's how I would verify that and test things that I just edited. X out of that. Here I also have some really cool options. So for one, this responsive mode we'll get into, but with Elementor you can actually make responsive edits too. So if I click on this button and I'll come up with a desktop, tablet, mobile, I can make edits to each of these just by clicking on that and then coming down and making edits. So if something looks wonky, I could make the edit here, and I can also do that from mobile. And when I switch over to tablet from desktop, you can see if it doesn't have a little icon for that tablet next to something, that means it's gonna make an edit to everything, so desktop, tablet, or mobile. But if there's a tablet near it, like you can see here, I can change the padding just for this tablet view, not everything. So the desktop padding and the mobile padding won't change. Now I'm going to go down and click mobile, and this is what my mobile site will look like. And mobile responsiveness is critical these days, and you can see that my icon is now not showing any text, and I have my little hamburger here to drop down. This looks good still. Maybe I would change the padding here, and if I clicked on the section, went to advanced, you can see that it's showing me mobile padding and mobile margins. So if I changed anything here, it would be mobile specific, and it would not include tablets or desktop. Next thing I'll show you is this navigator. So I'm going to go back to desktop view. So when I click desktop, I'll go back to this view, and if I click here, the navigator, this makes it easy to change the order of a section. So instead of taking something like this and trying to grab it and drag it manually, I could take this and drag it, put the drop downs down, and then just drag the section below like this. Makes it a little easier. I'm not going to do that, but that's what that is for. And now I'm also going to remove this section now that I've shown you how to do this. And the old one just gets moved back up. It's as simple as that. Let me X out of the navigator, come down and click update. That'll update those changes I just made by deleting that section that we created earlier. And now I can go back to my dashboard. And to do that, I just click on this hamburger over here and exit to dashboard. By default, it will send you back to the old school editor, and then you actually have to click this icon again. This is another reason why I said usually I right click on things. Like typically I would come to home, right click on edit with Elementor, and then click open in new tab, just so I can always easily come back here. That's just my own preference. If you don't like doing that, don't do it, but a little tip that I can share with you that makes things easier for me. And I'll just X this out. Now if I go back over to where I opened up a preview of a page, I can also see that I have the options when I'm logged in as an admin to make updates from here. So instead of going back to my dashboard, I can click edit with Elementor right from here, and it's going to bring me to that same Elementor page that we've been working from throughout this tutorial. So we'll wait for this to load for a second, and again it'll bring me right back here. Now this sums up a lot of what I wanted to cover from a high level perspective of using Elementor. This wasn't intended to get into any advanced features or anything like that. So when we're starting to build our pages out, I wanted you to get the basic foundation of how this works, so you're not blindsided and I didn't have to explain it at that time. So hopefully this was helpful. Quick recap: each page for Elementor is split out into sections, and that's these large blue highlighted sections when I hover over it. In order to get content, images, or headers or headlines or headings or buttons, you need to add an intersection, because if I tried to add any of these elements directly to the main section, that won't work. You need basically an intersection that will hold these pieces of content. The only reason why you see an image for the section is because you can add a background image for this section, and that's what they did here. But for the most part, each of these sections has an intersection where they've added padding, where they've added images, where they've added headings, where they've added CTAs, and it's all within here. I mean, then we can format differently within these intersections, but that's the basic foundation, is section, intersection, content. And then working your way down, changing the colors, and that's where the design comes in, and where these starter templates help us with that, where we don't have to think. Even in the sense right now there's a background image to an off-white color to white, which breaks up these sections. Now we can just utilize this background color. If we were to add a section below here, we could utilize some sort of spacer that they're using here. They just give us a lot of things to think about and starting points on building out our site. So once we start really building our pages out, you're going to see a lot more in detail of how to edit everything. But for the most part, you'll see the basics are always section, intersection, content. Now on the left hand panel in the widget section for Elementor, you're going to also want to click here to get any of your or all of your elements for Elementor that you want to add into your intersections. And then if you were to click on a content piece within the body of the web page, that's where the left hand panel will be used to edit the content, whether it's an image or text or whatever. And then you'll also be able to style it and then have advanced features like padding, adding custom CSS, etc. So those are the basics. We'll get more into it. And in the next video, we're going to look to see which static pages we're missing and we're going to start adding those pages in, at least from a template perspective right now, just like our whole site right now is just a template perspective. We have our site up and running, and we have the structure in place, and we're starting to learn how to build within that structure. However, obviously we need to start formulating our content strategy for our own niche. So as soon as we can finalize a sitemap and get all the pages up that we need from a template perspective, we can start strategizing our content and then finalizing those 5 primary keywords to build our first 5 blogs around. And maybe we'll create a blog template to capture the content for those. So we're getting there. This is exciting. I hope you're excited, because I think at this point we're getting to the stage where we're going to start shifting over from just learning and templatizing to actually incorporating your niche and your website and your voice and brand into your site. So hopefully your site's looking great. You've picked the template that fits your needs, and if you have any questions, reach out. I will help in any way that I can, so don't be shy. Give me a little time to respond, but if you could comment and just be engaged on our Facebook group, and we'll be in touch shortly, and I'll see you in the next video. All right, thanks everyone.